Had my channel for a while yet, and I've been remiss on some of the basics that I've learned as far as primitive technology, wilderness survival, etc., etc. And so it's always important to go back to one's roots every now and again. You know, again, it's always important to practice the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Seriously though. And so we're going to look at throwing sticks, which is kind of the first thing that you learn, or at least the way the Tom Brown Tracker School teaches. And I found some wooden pieces that were shaped in a particular way that I think that will work out. I did take some time and carve them out and shape them. Yeah, I'm dropping them. My hands are not large enough. And then there's just a regular old stick. Now, again, I go into a much more deeper lecture than that, but I'm out here kind of field testing some new ones, right? Or just to show you how this works, how a throwing stick works, right? Or a rabbit stick. And I really wish I could go out to that whole thing one time. Again, put something in the tip jar. Maybe I do. If I do, maybe I get to film it, bring some of that information back. But you know, right now, these are basically called rabbit sticks, and it's because, you know, little varmints, you can throw these at little varmints and get food. Now, the Aboriginal people of Australia would use these, my understanding, to get kangaroos and wombats and other types of food. And you know, boomerangs, I did not try to make a boomerang. That's a whole nother level of just a whole nother level, right? But as a kid growing up in the city, being infatuated with such things, bows and arrows and boomerangs and things like that, you know, I did what I could with what I found. And again, none of this is refined. I didn't decorate none of this. And that's why I'm on a little soccer field, a little kickball field, a little baseball field. Just because to show you the flight pattern and the differences of them all. And I'm just going to place some of these on the ground. Now, this is the one I worked on kind of the most, I think. And I made a knob on it. Heck, I could probably embed a stone tip on either side of this and would be a melee weapon. I actually like the feel of this. I actually like how this turned out. I haven't refined it at any point. I haven't sanded it down. I haven't put decorations, la la la. But being a part of a weapon to throw to get, you know, food, to get an animal, we're gonna see how far it throws. And again, you know, we're gonna, it's concave and convex on one end, and I did shape it in a way that was more kind of like diamond, if you were to do a cross section. So it should fly, and then but the knob is heavy ended, right? So again, as a melee weapon. So hopefully the camera captures this. I have no direct target, but I'm just gonna throw it, and we'll see what happens, right? Oh, that went off. Target. It landed over there. It landed over there, if you can see that. Now, and again, this is not a video to accentuate my accuracy skills, right? This is not what this is, right? Now, here's another piece that I kind of halfway did to make it so I can handle it, but it's still heavy. Again, as a melee weapon, this will be pretty good. It still has kind of a curve to it. And again, I can kind of, again, you can throw it sidearm, or you can throw it overhand. Overhand is more for the branch critters, meaning the rabbits and squirrels, or excuse me, the birds and squirrels. Hovering along the ground is more for your chipmunks and wombats and woodchucks and rabbits and things. So I took off some of the weight on the end, so this actually has I can actually fling this in a way I can feel it ergonomically where I know what I'm doing when I twist it. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Now, next I have a piece that garnered me 3 pieces actually. This is actually the middle piece, if I can put these things together, which would be more which would be more similar to what a boomerang might look like, right? And it gave me 3 pieces, but it's got a natural curve to it. And then I made sure that there was a dome on it and there's a flat plane, more or less. I did not refine this. These are just test run throws. You know, I think nonetheless they still will fly. Again, I'm throwing these sidearm. But again, we'll see, you know, and again, there's a flat plane and a dome plane, like a airplane wing, right? So we'll do this. Oh, that one over there. Now there's another one that's more or less the same, but it's a little heavy ended on one end. Okay, and then we've got this one here that's a little heavier. So again, these are just throwing sticks. I'm not trying to be there's a Marvel character called Boomerang, I believe. Captain Boomerang would be the DC character. I'm not trying to be that. This is not a video for accuracy. Now, there is just a arm length stick, right? It's basically almost as long as my arm, right? And I didn't need to shape this in any way. I didn't need to carve it in any way. I just picked it up. Maybe I had to chop off an end or two or something like that. And again, it's the same thing. I can just kind of chuck it, right? So again, I wish I had a film partner, so you know my wayward throws are just not going all over the place. I'll probably throw it again and give you more of a broader prospect. But I'm doing all this by myself. So anyways, that's what I'm working on, kind of like the throwing sticks, and it's something I've been remiss for many years. I'm gonna put the camera back a little bit. I'm gonna grab these up, and just so you can see the different flight patterns and stuff like that. And again, I'm out in the neighborhood, so I know I got looky-loos looking out going, oh, what's this black dude throwing sticks for? I know. I'm the Urban-Aboriginal. I know, I get it. Anyways, I'm just gonna back up a little bit and kind of rethrow these again so you can. Alright, so this is more or less my setup. I'm going to be using 2 different blades. I've got my cold steel barong here. I enjoy this blade here. It's the shorter version. And then I've got a Bowie version that was gifted to me by an instructor of mine. It's a really nice knife. I like the sheath. And the barong itself is for the money that you get, cold steel is the way to go, in my opinion. And this is designed out of the Filipino version of the southern Philippine weapon called the barong, or leaf blade. I have 2 versions. This is the shorter version, and I have a longer version, which is more like a machete. And I love these blades. Anyways, I've touched them up so they're a little bit more sharpened, and we're going to begin carving or shaping one of these throwing sticks. Gifted to me. Let's set these aside for now. Now, again, you know, this stick here is roughly my forearm length plus a hand length long. This is even just picking something off the ground. If you're hiking or find yourself in a wilderness situation, it's a throwing stick. Okay, it's a throwing stick, right? And the way that I like to grip them is, again, I probably have to show this in a different angle, is that I'm holding it like this, and I'm putting the end of the stick either between my little finger and my last, or my ring finger,
or my ring finger, and then my middle finger and it's funny, I go between Japanese and English, it's messed up. Hitosashi yubi, which is my index finger, and then my oya yubi, or thumb finger. Sorry, you guys, sometimes my brain just short circuits sometimes. Anyways, and there should be that whole dun 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 sound as I have to reboot. So I hope you find this funny. Anyways, sorry. But this is kind of how I grip when I'm throwing something, right? And I learned this a long time ago, especially playing around with boomerangs that I would get at the store and things like that, right? But forget all that, right? I'm just, right now, just naturally, I'm holding it like this, with my little finger holding it below that, and that's okay. Now that I went there, this is koyubi, wayubi, nakayubi, hitosashi yubi, and oya yubi. Okay. Anyways, look it up. So this is my little finger, and so you throw it and you get a lot of torque out of it. So just in and of itself, I wanted to shape this, but I'm going to use this to illustrate what that you can just pick up any old thing, and that's the way I was trained. And when you find yourself in a wilderness situation, to chuck at any prey of opportunity, birds, squirrels, woodchucks, chipmunks, whatever, right? And again, as we discussed, these types, you find something of a particular shape, these become weapons, in case you have to fend off, a wild critter, coyotes, bobcats, or something like that. We have a lot of coyotes where I live, right? Or even the two-legged type, the humanoid type, right? You might have to, defend yourself against somebody like that. So first thing you want to do when you find yourself in a wilderness situation is grab a stick, a walking stick, and then a short stick, a few of them, at least 3, B, right? And again, because you might miss, and then you might need to pick up another one. Now, the other purpose of, and a lot of these are called rabbit sticks, right? When we talk about this sort of thing. And there is a primitive rendezvous, if you will, primitive technology rendezvous that I would love to go to one time, called rabbit stick. And rabbit stick is really, that's what it is. You use a short stick to chuck at rabbits to stun them for harvest. Or if you snare or trap a rabbit or any other critter, smaller critter, you might need to have something to dispatch it with, humanely, right? And so that's why you carry at least one, or at least 2. 3 or more is better, because you may miss, right? So anyways, I'm going to start by, the first one I'm going to try to work with is, I'm going to work with the smaller one. These are 2 pieces that, one is more hefty and bigger, and then this one I'm going to try to work with and whittle down to a decent shape. Again, as is, we can certainly build, or we can certainly use, but that's why I brought out my blades here. So what I want to do is, I want to try to shape this. Sorry for the noise, because I'm in a public place right now. In my garage, there's other cars around. Anyways, right now, I want to kind of shape this down. I'm going to shape this down to give it kind of an aerodynamic feel, and then I want to, this bottom part here, we talked about making more of a knob at the end, but I want to make a handle that is thinner, okay, here. So I think intuitively I'm probably going to start here, and because it's a smaller space, I'm probably going to start, kind of carving out this space here, and then shaping everything else after that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with my smaller blade. This is this boy, and put the sheath aside, but I will need it. And I got my got my wood stump here that I like to keep around for projects like this, so that it doesn't hit the concrete or the dirt and dulls my blade. So I'm gonna just start find about, let's see, this, what's interesting about natural features, natural things, is that they give you indicators, if you listen, if you pay attention, of where you probably need to start. And this is a little knob here that I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna use that as my place to start to make a handle, right? It's because it is actually kind of thick. Again, my fingers don't close around it, right? And I'm a medium-sized person, so you know this is a fairly thick branch. So I'm gonna just take this and just start kind of chipping. All right. So for this explanation, again, always sheathe the blade, even if you're just laying it down for a second, just in case. All right. Safety first, especially when you're dealing with sharp implements. So anyways, so this is kind of what I'm starting out with. So I'm hacking down to make a more grippable handle here, and it already starts to feel good. Later on, I'm probably going to use a rasp. Primitively, you use sand or sandstone to do this. And again, in a quick and dirty situation, who cares if it's rough? Trust me, your hand oils and wear and tear is going to smooth this down over time anyhow, right? And so again, I want to make kind of a knob on the end here for this particular one. So now what I need to do is I need to be careful. I need to start to hack. And you can see this, I need to start hacking downward the other way to meet. Otherwise this will just start, you know, if I didn't want the knob, then I could just shave this any kind of way. I could just shave everything off, right? But because I want the knob on this as a counterbalance, I'm gonna have to be careful with this larger blade, all right? And then start just saying, yeah, my hands are pretty close. Leather gloves would work as well, just in case as an extra safety precaution. But I'm gonna start hacking this way downward, and then we're gonna meet in the middle and then shave, and then do the finer work with a rasp and stuff. So basically right now what we're doing is we're just shaping this out. So I want to be careful. I just want to, again, that's why it's important to work with sharp blades. I want to get in real close and just use light chips to get the grooves in. Because again, I'm not doing big swings, because I might hit my thumb and lose my thumb and all that, end up in the hospital, right? No. I just want small chips to control it. I could probably even go down to a smaller blade, but I think this Bowie will work. You just have to be gentle and careful. Pay attention to what you're doing. So you see how I've kind of made a ring around where I'm going to start really hacking this, right? And I'm doing this on camera, and when I say concentrate, that's important, because I'm talking as I'm doing, and it's very difficult to talk and do, right? Unless you've been doing this repeatedly over and over again, then your muscle memory kicks in. But right now, I don't want to do that, because I'm dealing with a bladed object, and I'm not trying to lose my thumb or my fingers on the camera. So what I'm going to do is I just wanted to show you kind of how I'm working this particular piece. Every piece is going to be different, but I'm just kind of hacking this in so I know where to start, and so I can start taking more committed blows to meet in the middle here. To meet in the middle. Okay. Alright, so I'm roughing out the handle a little bit, and like I said, I kind of want this knob at the end. I'm doing a bit of shaping, but even again, compared to what we started with, this feels much better, even as just a handheld weapon. Alright, my fingers can touch, I can lock my thumb and my fingers, but even if I was just making this as a weapon, a melee weapon, this is actually feeling pretty good. You know, yes, it's rough, but that's the whole point. We're making it rough. Refinement is another thing. You know, art form in human history, in my understanding, anthropologically speaking, art form comes after your belly is full. All right, this is good enough to get knock down some substance, then that's just what you need. It's just good enough, right? So I'm going to continue refining this. I think I can kind of get this a little bit more refined. What I am doing, still using the Bowie, is I am kind of starting to take this and I'm starting to shave, right? And when I shave, and I've said this before in other videos, I can pull. And it's good because I'm catching, because now my knob is working, so I'm catching it. And that's good, so I want that. And I can meet it on the other side to smooth it out. But again, I can take a rasp and really make this real smooth. But I don't want this completely round because I want this to fly. It wouldn't matter anyways, but I want it to fly longer, further distance. So it has to be ergonomical, or an aerodynamic sort of shape. Alright, and again, just coming chipping down to make the knob more prominent. And I can start to shave down towards the other side as well. Okay. Alright, this is what we have so far, roughing out. It's been at it about maybe 15 minutes or so. Again, this feels pretty good in hand now. It really does. And then, again, I have the counterweight with the heavier knob at the end, which I think was a good idea. Now what I'm going to do, it's kind of got a horse hoof shape, right? What I kind of want to do is kind of keep that, but I want to get rid of some of the bark, and I'm going to shave some of this off. I'm going to kind of rough this out a little bit, get rid of some of the bark. Again, I do, a lot of my projects working with wood, I do like to keep the natural part of it, meaning some of the bark on it. But at least on this one, I'm going to go all the way and just kind of shape it out without the bark. And just kind of round this off a little bit. And then again, this is how I'm going to do with my blade here. Is I just want to start to kind of take small chips at it, and especially the ends. To get rid of some of the shape a little bit. And again, I can't remember what kind of wood this is, but it's really dense. But it works good. And then some of it is just straight up just shaving off the bark, and then getting down to the actual wood part of it versus the inner bark, which is the inner bark is the tan part, right? That's the inner bark. But I want to kind of shape this a little bit to kind of be more round, I should say, right? So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back in a bit. Alright, so this is what we have so far as rounding out here. Now, I'm using, I'm using basically with this kind of size of blade for this type of work, I'm using a sledgehammer to kill a mosquito. So this is more rasp work, right? Taking a rasp or sandstone or rock or hell, asphalt or concrete on my garage floor to just kind of start to shape it out, right? To get it round where I want it. But now we're going to start to work on the other end here, and I want more of a flat plane. And I don't know, I kind of want to take this and I want to make it more flat so it becomes more aerodynamic. Okay, it can more like a wing, so it'll fly a little farther when I throw it. I mean, even right now I know I can chuck this and either end will hurt somebody or hurt something, right? But we're gonna refine this down a little bit more. Again, I could stop in a real extreme primitive situation, or if I was using stone tools to get it this far, I would probably stop and be like, this is good enough. But I've got my bladed tool, so I'm going to go a little further just to continue with the demo and see how much refined I can get this, get some of the bark off, and then start to shape this on a flatter plane, which is really what I want. And I might keep the end bulbous and then give it a try as far as throwing it and see how well it flies. So there we go. This is what we have so far. And it really roughly only took me about, what, 20 minutes, 30 minutes approximately. Alright, so I'm gonna again plane this down to more of an flat shape, more of a wing shape, an aerodynamic shape, flat on the sides like I mentioned before. And I got this that has worked so far just to make the handle, but I'm gonna switch to my bigger boomerang machete to do some real work on removing the material. Okay, so this is where I'm going with it, right? I want to round out some of this again. When I get to the tip, I want to use a rasp, and again, I would, scrape it on a rock, primitively speaking. But I still have a little bit of work to do. But again, this cold steel boomerang, the shorter one, does real quick work of taking off a good majority of the mass that I need, right? I still want this to be top heavy, but I'm gonna switch to my smaller blade, the Bowie, and so I kind of shape it, because what I want to do is I want to start to shape it so these ends kind of converge, right? So there's more of a point. All right, and I could do this slowly with this bigger blade, but again, I have the two blades, so they're all right. So this is kind of the shape that I'm kind of going towards, right? And again, I am losing some heft to it, so I do want to keep this end real heavy. So I'm going to start to really sharpen this edge. I'm gonna start steepening the angle a little bit, and then kind of rounding this out. Actually, I kind of like, but this is splitting right here. This is splitting here, but there's probably a way to fill that up. But I kind of want to start to just refine the shape. Again, roughing it out. Yeah, I think it probably would fly pretty good right now. But I'm gonna keep on going. Again, I'm using my Bowie size blade versus my big boomerang, which again was taking off mass for me. So there's some pieces here where I might need to use a boomerang to take off a big chunk here, and then just use my smaller blade, and the rest of it is rasp work. The rest of it is just refining with a rasp. So this is the rough that we have so far. And again, just using big objects to reduce the big boomerang here and the Bowie blade to reduce what we had. Basically, these are identical almost, this into something like this. Again, this is still hefty because it's got a lot of weight and mass to it, but this feels like this will actually, I could chuck this really pretty well, and it's still got a lot of heft to it. I believe this is hardwood, more or less. Even if it's not, it's still going to hurt. It's still going to take out. And again, I could throw it, this is bowed, as you can see. So it's got a curve. I could throw it this way, or I could throw it, I could throw it this way, right? But I'm going to refine it still, because I still want to get some of these edges down and then shape it and make it look pretty, make it look nicer. But again, we went from a few stages, right? We went from just the straight raw stage. You pick up a stick because you're hungry, you're stuck somewhere, and you need to get some meat. It doesn't matter, okay? As long as you can throw it. There you go. This is as primitive as you can get. This is as primitive as you can get. Then, once you get your belly full, the hunger pains have gone away, and you're sitting around the fire, then you can refine your tools to something a little bit more efficient, right? So again, granted, you have the tools to do so, stone tools, bladed tools, etc., etc. So again, I'm going to spend some time shaping this with my rasp. I will show kind of a little bit of that process, but again, this is just roughing out, you know, a blank to make, again, either a melee weapon for close quarter combat if I needed to protect myself, and or a throwing weapon, right? And if you're going to have a throwing weapon, you want to at least have 3, right? Because you can throw from a self-defense standpoint, you can throw to distract the individual and then close the distance or run away. But then they might pick up your weapon and throw it back at you. So you might want to close the distance to finish off the individual. Again, that's tactics. That's just hypothetically speaking. I'm not saying do that, but you know, that's what the throwing weapon would be for. Again, the movies make it look cool and everything, and axe throwing is a thing now. So everybody wants to throw an axe and it sticks, and it doesn't really matter. It's a big piece of hardwood and metal. Any piece of that hits bone or flesh, it's going to hurt. It's most likely going to stop you in your tracks. So the movies make it look all cool. Again, from a self-defense standpoint, you have something to throw to distract your opponent. You can close the distance or escape. From a hunting standpoint, you can throw, you can stun your quarry, a rabbit, you know, in whatever environment. Close the distance, and you know, you have your choice of dispatching if you didn't kill it off top with the first throw, out of, you know, mercy, and to keep the animal from suffering. So anyways, I digress a bit, but again, I'm gonna use my rasp to shape this a little bit. I still want this, I might thin the handle a bit more because I want this to be heavy. I want the top end to be heavy. So that's what's really going to give it the kind of the spin that we want. Okay. All right, so I just discovered something that I need to talk about, and there's too much traffic. Everybody's gawking. I really wish I lived out in the country, but then I wouldn't be the urban owl. I'd be the country owl, I guess. Everybody and their mother, including the mother, is coming home. Nonetheless, this stump that I absconded with, or rather I just asked some of the foresters that live in the city to let me get this stump, and then I made a handle to it out of leather and rope and drilled them in. And the cool thing about this is that it did split. And it split, but the cool thing about the split is, and because of the shape of this, is I can fit this in the split when I need extra bit of security, and I can see a line of sight, and I can take my shaver from where I'm at, and it'll be stable, you know, and it doesn't twist on me. So this, and I've used this before, this stump actually I really enjoy, and that's why I you know, made a handle for it, because I can take it inside when I want to work inside, and obviously it's portable. I can take it wherever I need to. So for now, it's coming to shape a little bit with my rasp. It's looking actually pretty good from my point of view. I'm just going to work a little bit more on this, and then I'm going to take a break, and then we will refine it. I need to do the handle, I need to do the edges, I need to do the knob on the end, so there's a lot more work that needs to be done on this, but it's getting there, and I'm actually kind of liking how it's coming along. So back at making throwing sticks, right? And again, you don't have to quote unquote make a throwing stick. Anything that's about your forearm length
anything that is about your forearm length or shorter is a throwing stick, okay? But in an urban scenario, I was able to procure some pieces that are cut, and so I'm just gonna round these pieces off. The one piece again that I'm working on, I'm kind of trying to shape it, doing the whole, aerodynamic thingy. There's another piece here that, there's going to another be a piece of work that I'm not going to even archive. I just need to focus and work on it. And then this is just another stick, that would work as a throwing stick. But for this particular piece, this one had some knocks or some notches, some stems coming out. And what I'm going to try to do and shape it, I'm not going to try to make it aerodynamic. I'm just going to shave off some pieces. And I do want the weight to be on this end, right? So then when it's thrown, you can feel the trajectory. You can feel how the torque that you need to give on this particular stick. So right now I'm just going to this has already been pre-cut, so I'm going to just make this a rounded cudgel at the end, and then I'm going to shave a little bit up towards the notches here. I may do some shaping here, I may not. I think I may leave it as is, because again, it's a throwing stick. I might lose it. I don't need to put a whole bunch of artwork into it. It's something I'm going to lose, possibly, right? So this will be the start of it. So this is a rough, right? And again, it feels good in the grip because it's a rough. Over time, hand oils and stuff like that, especially if you're able to retrieve your stick, it's just going to make this even handier. Again, as a weapon, it it becomes a little bit, the physics of it, the shape becomes a little bit more ergonomic. I think that's the term I want to use. This has already been shaved. It's already been cut. So I want to kind of what I'm trying to do is round out the edges that have been cut. And then, I'll sand down these edges a little bit, but I'm going to leave the other end as it is as much as I can, because again, it's a thumper. It's a stick that you use to, throw at something to procure food. So it doesn't have to be pretty, necessarily. So I'm gonna round off these edges. I'm gonna round off these edges a little bit. Round off these edges, and then the other one that I have, this in here, I'm gonna try my best to make flat. I may not. I'll archive it, but I'm not gonna do too much narration with it. It's just gonna be. This is gonna be a lot of work because this is a big old chunk, big old piece of wood. And I like it. I get it. It's gonna work, but we'll see what happens when I get there. And mind you, I live in an apartment complex. I'm making noise without the chopping, yada yada yada. So, somebody's gonna complain eventually. But anyways, this is what we have so far. And even right now, I mean, just because there's more weight on this stick, because I'm not taking off weight on this end here. Chucking this will be great. I have more, how do you say, trajectory. I have more. I can really flick this in a way that it'll spin to get my quarry if I needed to. All right, so I'm gonna leave this stick as it is for the most part. I'm gonna shape it a little bit so it's not so rough in the hand, because I can. But in a survival situation, heck, I wouldn't even need to do all this work, which wastes calories. Because obviously, if you're making a throwing stick, you're hungry, because you're trying to get critters to eat. So, but you know, once you're fed, then we can have the time to do art. So again, this is just a demonstration on, you know, how you would make a throwing stick and why. Again, this is heavier handed because I didn't do too much with the upper part here, right? So even as a self-defense weapon, personal self-defense weapon, I mean, this feels good to me as somebody who studied martial arts the vast majority of my life. But as far as throwing this at a bird or a rabbit or a squirrel or whatever, this will work, you know, as is. It'll work as is. But, you know, I'll try to shape this up a little bit. And then I have another stick that I'm going to have to take some time and work on and see if I can really shape, you know, really work this piece down so that it looks, it works, it looks great, you know. Even this one, which is very similar to this piece, I want to work down. I mean, that's just my permit, but as a weapon, a melee weapon, a CQB weapon, a hand-to-hand combat weapon, this is perfect. As a throwing stick, yeah, this is perfect. Do I want to make it pretty and shape and blah, blah? Yes, I do. Will I? I will try. So, you know, so this is kind of what we have and what we're working with. And again, I'm not in the woods nowhere, and I'm trying my best not to fake the funk like that. But at the end of the day, you know, this is what we're working with and kind of the stages, right? And then this here, even in and of itself, this is just a straight up throwing stick, a brick, a rock, or whatever, right? And I might not, and there's another, I may do another video on just taking a round stick and shaping it so it's easier to throw, but I'm gonna leave this as it is, to be honest, now that I think about it, and I've had some time to think about it. So yeah, so what we're doing here, if I, you know, so again, this one on my right, this one here, pick it up, lump something with it if you're hungry. This one, you have time to, after your hunger is satiated, you know, after you're not hungry anymore, then now you can form it and shape it and make it look pretty and blah blah blah. If the stick is not to this particular shape that you want it, you can also make it so that it's easier to throw or easier to use as something to defend your cave. And I do say cave, and you know, you know, with the quotation marks. I do say cave with the quotation marks. I don't really like that term, man cave. I hate that shit. But that's another conversation. I digress. But you know, even in and of itself, this even feels real good. This is the reason why I chose the stick, because I knew the nodules is halfway up the middle, and I can shape the handle down, and it's gonna twirl. And when I flick it, it's gonna twirl in a way that most likely I'm gonna be a little bit more accurate. I don't care what end hits, you know, whether it's the top end, the bottom end, or the middle end, as long as I get my quarry. So anyways, yeah, this is the throwing sticks is a whole, now I'm discovering it's a whole nother vocation, a whole nother conversation, you know, a whole nother, I mean, again, we haven't gotten to boomerangs and yada yada yada. But right now, this is what I'm working on. It's something I probably should have or could have started with way back 13, 14 years ago, as you know, as the start of my channel, that I could have started with. But you know, anyways, this is basically how you make a throwing stick, and you don't have to make one. Find one, pick one up, easy enough. Alright, so I'm gonna throw the round ones first. And again, I don't know how many yards or meters, you know, know, it's just a regular old, you know, softball, baseball, kickball field at a local school. You can do the math on that. But again, a good hunter doesn't need to be throwing from yards and yards and yards away. From my understanding, you know, you got to be able to get up close to your quarry. You got to know them well enough to get close enough, so that therefore you don't miss, right? Another conversation. Anyways, here's the round one. No modifications. It's just a round stick. Looks like driftwood, and I'm just gonna throw it straight ahead of me. There's that. Round stick. I made sure that there's more weight on the tip than there is the bottom of it, and it is kind of curved in a shape. So we'll see. About the same distance. Now this looks like something from Apocalypto. I could go there if I wanted to. Got plenty of obsidian. I'm just not for this video. And it's got an end here that could be used for bludgeoning. And again, just throwing it. This was a little bit late for that. So now I've got from one piece these curved ends. And again, they're kind of a foil shape, if you will. They're domed but flat. And I'm going to make sure that they hover, or they're going to be parallel to the ground. Thinner piece. Another piece. Now that one wanted to actually fly. And again, those are rough. I've not taken the time to, you know, go through the whole mechanics of making them aerodynamic. It's more or less an experiment to me, but it's also just to bring up the, it's good to have a throwing stick. One of the first things you learn in primitive technology is you find yourself in a primitive situation, you might want to have a stick that you can lump some quarry with real quick as a protein base. And again, it doesn't have to fly 200 yards around and come back to your hand. You know, it's not a batarang. It just needs to do what it needs to do, and that's it. So, you know, that's my little demo. Again, went to a local little park, or not a park, a little playground where I know I could throw it, and if it did go far, at least I have the backdrop to catch what I was throwing. Yeah, not an accuracy test. Not into that, because that's not what this video is about. But I'll post this nonetheless.